The medieval era was an age of iron and blood, where a man's worth was measured by his skill with sword and lance. Across the battlefields of Europe, certain warriors rose above all others, their names becoming synonymous with victory and death. These knights were not simply brave men in armor, but forces of nature who could turn the tide of wars. Kingdoms sought their service, while enemies prayed never to face them in combat. Through sieges, crusades, and countless brutal engagements, they forged legacies that echo through history. These are the 10 most feared knights of the medieval era. Number 10, Sir John Chandos. He was known throughout England and France as one of the most skilled tacticians of the Hundred Years' War. Born into a modest Derbyshire family around 1320, Chandos rose to become the closest friend and advisor to Edward the Black Prince. His military genius was first demonstrated at the Battle of Crécy in 1346, where English longbowmen devastated the French cavalry in a slaughter that shocked all of Europe. Chandos personally fought beside the young prince, helping to coordinate the devastating arrow volleys that cut down wave after wave of charging knights. His strategic mind proved invaluable again at the Battle of Poitiers in 1356, where the English captured King John II of France himself. For his services, Chandos was granted vast estates and appointed as the first English lieutenant of France. However, his remarkable career came to an unexpected end on December 31st, 1369, during a minor skirmish near the bridge of Lusic. Crossing the frozen ground at dawn, Chandos slipped on the morning frost just as a French squire thrust a lance through his face. The wound proved fatal, and he died the following day. Contemporary chronicles record that even his French enemies mourned his passing, recognizing him as a knight without peer in that brutal century. Number 9, Gotz von Berlichingen. Despite being born into the German nobility around 1480, this knight became notorious not for courtly graces, but for his iron fist, quite literally. During the siege of Landshut in 1504, a cannonball shattered his right arm, forcing its amputation. Rather than retiring from warfare, Gotz commissioned a revolutionary mechanical prosthetic made of iron, complete with articulated fingers that could grip a sword or hold reins. This remarkable device allowed him to continue fighting for another 40 years. He participated in numerous campaigns across the Holy Roman Empire, earning a fearsome reputation as a mercenary commander who honored his contracts with brutal efficiency. The Emperor Maximilian I himself acknowledged Gotz's skills, though their relationship remained complicated by Gotz's frequent feuds with neighboring lords. His raids and ransom demands became legendary along the Rhine, where merchants learned to pay tribute rather than face his iron grip. Gotz survived countless battles and lived until 1562, dying peacefully at the remarkable age of approximately 82. His autobiography, dictated in his final years, provides one of the most detailed accounts of a medieval knight's life ever recorded. Number 8, Sir William Marshall. He was called the greatest knight who ever lived by the Archbishop of Canterbury, yet his beginnings suggested nothing of the legend he would become. Born around 1146 as the fourth son of a minor nobleman, William had no inheritance to claim and no lands to his name. His path to greatness began in the tournament circuits of France, where he captured over 500 knights for ransom during his career, amassing a fortune through combat alone. This record remains unmatched in medieval history. His skill caught the attention of royalty. He served 4 English kings with unwavering loyalty, from Henry II through Henry III. At the Battle of Lincoln in 1217, Marshall led a cavalry charge against rebel forces, despite being 70 years old. The aged knight split enemy helmets and shattered shields, personally turning the tide of battle. His loyalty was tested when King John demanded he surrender his sons as hostages, yet Marshall complied, trusting that his service would protect them. That trust was rewarded when King John spared his children despite their father's occasional defiance. William Marshall died in 1219, surrounded by his family and fellow knights who wept openly at his bedside. He was laid to rest in the Temple Church in London, where his effigy still lies today, a permanent monument to the knight whose combat record and political survival remain unequaled in medieval annals. Number 7. Jean II Le Maingre, known as Boucicaut, born in 1366 to a French noble family, he began training for knighthood at the age of 12 and quickly demonstrated extraordinary physical prowess. Chronicles record that he could vault onto a horse while wearing full armor and climb the underside of a ladder using only his hands. By 25, he had been appointed Marshal of France, one of the highest military positions in the kingdom. Boucicaut fought across Europe and beyond, participating in crusades against the Ottoman Turks and defending Constantinople itself in 1399. His fame spread so widely that he founded the Order of the White Lady, dedicated to protecting women whose honor had been threatened. However, his fortunes changed dramatically at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415, where the flower of French chivalry was destroyed by English longbowmen in the mud of northern France. Boucicaut was captured and spent the remaining years of his life as a prisoner in England. He died in Yorkshire in 1421, never seeing his homeland again. His book on chivalry and his extraordinary athletic feats ensured that his reputation survived his captivity. Number 6. Rodrigo Diaz de Vivar, known as El Cid. His nickname came from the Arabic word for lord, a testament to the respect he commanded even among his enemies. Born around 1043 in the Kingdom of Castile, Rodrigo became the champion of King Sancho II and later served his successor Alfonso VI. His combat skills were legendary, and contemporary accounts describe him as undefeated in personal combat throughout his entire career. However, political intrigues led to his exile from Castile in 1081, forcing him to offer his sword to whoever would pay. He fought for both Christian and Muslim rulers during the complex wars of the Reconquista, demonstrating a pragmatism that shocked some contemporaries. His greatest achievement came in 1094 when he conquered the wealthy city of Valencia from the Moors, ruling it as his own domain until his death. El Cid died in 1099, but legend holds that his embalmed body was strapped to his horse and sent into battle one final time, terrifying enemies who believed the invincible warrior had returned from death itself. His sword, Tizona, became one of the most famous weapons in Spanish history. Number 5. Edward the Black Prince. Despite never becoming king, this English prince was perhaps the most feared battlefield commander of the 14th century. Born in 1330 as the eldest son of Edward III, he earned his famous nickname either from his black armor or from the terror he inspired in French hearts. At just 16 years old, he commanded the vanguard at Crécy and fought with such ferocity that his father refused to send reinforcements, declaring that the boy must earn his spurs. He earned them decisively. A decade later at Poitiers, the Black Prince achieved the unthinkable, capturing King John II of France and demanding a ransom that nearly bankrupted the French kingdom. His chevauchés, devastating raids through French territory, left entire provinces in ruins and established a pattern of warfare that would define the Hundred Years' War. However, his later campaign in Castile permanently damaged his health. The brutal sack of Limoges in 1370, where thousands of civilians were massacred on his orders, tarnished his chivalric reputation. He died in 1376, 1 year before his father, never wearing the crown he had fought so hard to defend. Number 4. Bertrand du Guesclin, the Eagle of Brittany. He was born around 1320 into Breton nobility, but his appearance was so rough that his own family reportedly despised him. Contemporary descriptions paint him as short, dark, and remarkably ugly, with a flat nose and green eyes that unsettled those who met him. Yet this unpromising exterior concealed one of the greatest military minds of the medieval era. Du Guesclin revolutionized French warfare by abandoning the traditional cavalry charges that had led to disasters at Crécy and Poitiers. Instead, he employed guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and siege warfare to slowly reclaim French territory from English occupation. His strategy proved devastatingly effective. King Charles V recognized his talents and appointed him Constable of France in 1370, the highest military rank in the kingdom. Under his command, the French reclaimed nearly all the territory lost to England over the previous decades. Du Guesclin died in 1380 while besieging the fortress of Châteauneuf-de-Randon. Even in death, he inspired fear as the garrison surrendered and laid their keys upon his coffin rather than face his army's wrath. He was buried with royal honors at Saint-Denis, the only commoner ever granted such distinction. Number 3. Godfrey of Bouillon. Born around 1060 as the Duke of Lower Lorraine, he would become the first ruler of the Kingdom of Jerusalem. When Pope Urban II called for the First Crusade in 1095, Godfrey was among the first nobles to take the cross. Selling his ancestral lands to finance his expedition, he led a massive army through Europe and into the Holy Land, enduring starvation, disease, and constant Turkish attacks. His defining moment came at the Siege of Jerusalem in 1099, when his troops were among the first to breach the city walls. The ensuing massacre was brutal, even by medieval standards. When offered the crown of Jerusalem, Godfrey refused to wear a golden crown in the city where Christ had worn thorns, accepting instead the title Defender of the Holy Sepulchre. He died in 1100, possibly from typhoid, though some suspected poison. His legacy as a holy warrior made him one of the 9 worthies, legendary heroes celebrated throughout medieval Europe. Number 2. Henry Hotspur Percy. This English knight earned his famous nickname from the Scots themselves, who marveled at how quickly he could mobilize his forces and strike. Born in 1364 to one of England's most powerful noble families, Percy spent his youth patrolling the dangerous Scottish borderlands. His speed and aggression in combat became legendary, and by 24 he had been appointed Warden of the East March, responsible for defending northern England. Hotspur fought in numerous engagements, including the famous English victory at Otterburn in 1388, where he was captured but later ransomed. His military reputation made him invaluable to the crown, and he played a crucial role in helping Henry IV seize the throne in 1399. However, disputes over ransoms turned Hotspur against the king he had helped crown. In 1403, he raised a rebellion that culminated at Shrewsbury. During the fighting, Hotspur raised his visor to catch his breath and was struck by an arrow, killing him instantly at 39. Shakespeare would later immortalize him as the ultimate warrior knight, impetuous and brave to the point of recklessness. Number 1. Richard I of England, the Lionheart. Though he was a king, Richard earned his legendary status through personal combat prowess that terrified even the most hardened warriors. Born in 1157, he spent his youth fighting rebellions in France and proved himself a military genius before inheriting the English throne in 1189. He immediately departed for the Third Crusade, where his feats became legendary. At the Siege of Acre, he fought while suffering from scurvy, carried on a stretcher to direct his crossbowmen. At the Battle of Arsuf in 1191, he led a devastating cavalry charge that shattered Saladin's army and proved that Crusader knights could match Muslim tactics. Even Saladin, his greatest enemy, reportedly expressed admiration for Richard's courage. Chronicles record that Turkish mothers would threaten misbehaving children with his name, warning that King Richard would come for them. His very presence on a battlefield inspired his own men, while demoralizing opponents who knew his reputation. Richard died in 1199, struck by a crossbow bolt while besieging a minor French castle. The wound became infected, and the Lionheart met his end far from the great battles that had made his name. He requested his heart be buried in Rouen, ensuring that even in death, his legend would endure. As we conclude our journey through medieval warfare, these 10 knights remind us why this era captured humanity's imagination for centuries. From tournament champions to crusader kings, from loyal servants to cunning tacticians, each carved his legend through skill, courage, and iron determination. Their stories of victory and defeat, honor, and brutality continue to echo through history. If you have been captivated by these tales of knightly valor, subscribe to our channel and join us as we explore more legendary figures from the past.